Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I think, Raman, you've asked everyone a lot of questions. So the first one to you.
So we can't swap the roles.
So in recent times, we've seen a paradigm shift in the way commercial buildings are being conceived, designed, constructed, and operated. Why do you think this shift has happened, and what are the major shift elements?
So thank you, Raj, for a wonderful question. Very interesting. I'll just take you to the genesis of it. And to cut the chase, I'll actually make it very short. See, today's workplaces are not just workplaces where we have to just complete a task. Today's workplaces are where people have to unleash their creativity. So there's a big shift. You know, while we are trying to make those, offices which trigger creativity, which inspire you for creativity. So the entire shift has happened. This entire focus towards workplaces, like it should be more of an informal. It's not clearly a structured, the industrial type of setting. So many things have changed in that commercial places. More so, now if you see today, it's not only about building, it's about reducing the carbon footprint, it's about technology, it's about operational excellence. So it's about sustainability. So it's a multiple things that have come. But I will say the primary trigger is obviously it's evolution. It is the things that have, people getting more and more conscious about environment prevention, and also all that has triggered a new concept in the completely office places. So you need more open spaces. People love to be, in open spaces. Nobody wants now to be caged in with their work cubicles. So all that has brought shift into the commercial spaces.
So you do think you have redefined your brief for commercial spaces?
That's absolutely right. So we are a function of, it's a society. At the end of the day, the workforce is a society. People are changing. People are evolving. So it's no more. The generations have changed. Today's ask of people is completely different. So they don't want to be completely structured and be caged in a regimented manner. So they want people, as I said at the beginning, it's about unleashing their creativity. It's not about completing a task. That's no more now there. So those things have definitely triggered the change in the office spaces.
Pallavi, how have you observed the evolution of workplace design in commercial buildings over the years, and what do you see is the driving force bringing people back?
So primarily, Viraj, who are we designing for? That's the key question, right? So as developers, because we happen to be architects who are on the developer side, right? So we get a little bit more perspective into what the client is thinking of, right? So despite us being clients, there are two clients we are dealing with. One is the user of the space, and one is the investor from where this project has sort of germinated, right? We're dealing with two very diverse kinds of people, right? So in terms of the user of the space, we are primarily looking for creating different kind of spaces within the commercial development which address the neurodiversity that exists within the human population. So that's one. So you basically need to be able to generate different typologies of spaces within the same premise, within the same project, in order to be able to facilitate the different kind of human beings that are going to inhabit that space. That is how we are relating to the user. With respect to the investors, who are basically the nucleus from where this whole idea of developing the project comes, we see that a lot of investors are requesting for aspects like diversity, like sustainability. Okay, we get that request directly from where this idea is germinating, which in turn puts that into the relevance drawer for us. It puts it in the relevance bucket for us. That drives us, when we are designing the project, or we are defining the project brief, which we hand over to the architects to take over. So I think it's who are we building for and who's going to be the user of the space.
Thank you. Nitin, what innovative design strategies and technologies are being employed to enhance the sustainability of commercial buildings?
Okay, so at the moment, I think most people think of technologies in the field of design and construction while the building is being designed and constructed. I think the technology has to be looked at from the entire life cycle of a building of, let's say, 50 years. So we all are, like most of us are aware of the technologies, let's say we use from BIM to 3D printing to CFD simulations to whatnot we use while we design and construct. But there's a large gap still how those technologies get integrated with the building operations and maintenance. For example, in operations, like it starts from the security, like everything is becoming touchless and without the intervention of humans. For example, you come in a car, there's a RFID, you directly go in, you know, and when you go in, you'll see that how many number of parkings are left, and the arrows will guide you to your exact parking spot. Then when you're getting in yourself, your lift will exactly know that which floor you work on, and automatically the lift, with the help of DCS, which is integrated in your phone, would come and you can enter that lift. And also in terms of energy management, in terms of indoor air quality, in terms of, and now if you layer it with all this information, the amount of data coming in, and you put in the layer of AI, you you see patterns. You see patterns how the building users are using the building, and those patterns help predictive maintenance and predictive actions, and to make the building much more efficient. I think that's where most of the commercial real estate is heading, and I think COVID has actually accelerated that process. Now, if you see, most of the things have actually become seamless in terms of nobody's touching anything.
True. And Akshay, do you think sustainability is something people are just saying or actually executing? Are our buildings really sustainable?
Well, we do see now, all the speakers here have said that sustainability now has been at the core of designing. So I won't say it's something just we are saying and, it's not really there. We all are working towards it. Our users, be it people who are using the building or the developers who are developing the building, they all have goals towards sustainability. They all want to minimize their impact of the product on the environment. And we are making places which are people-centric. So when we are talking about people-centric, it is about nature, it is about people, making people connected to nature. We can't just have projects which are deteriorating the environment and taking away the nature away from the people. So I firmly believe that everything we are doing now is working towards very much about sustainability, making them energy efficient, water efficient, making people connected to nature inside the building and outside.
I'll actually add more to it. See, today, there's a regulation also which is eventually going to come, because there is a commitment from the government for climate control. This thing by 2035 will make 50%, by 2070 will make 100%. But most of the countries in the world are by 25 getting reducing carbon footprint by 100%. Now, what that means is, so whether we like it or not, it has to become a part of our life. It has become a part of the project. I mean, all the activities, whatever we are doing. So per force, either by choice or per force, it will get implemented. So there's no question about, and I see it maybe in next 1 year, the regulations are actually in the draft stage, which will come into this thing for execution. I see this going to be very important going forward. And places like Denmark and all, you'll be surprised. These are the countries, those who have started, a new construction gets a carbon rating over there. So you have so many carbon points and you have to consume that. You have to do your construction within that. So that means you have to make a choice between what material to use and what not to use. So world is moving towards that. So I'm sure things are going to fast forward over here also.
So I think, Viraj, primarily sustainability is something that, to answer your question, whether are we really doing it or are we doing it just to tick a box? Now, sustainability is something that maybe unless it's driven top down, Okay, the entire organization may or may not be particularly passionate about it, and there may be particular departments or particular people who are passionate about it. But if we go in for the certifications that most of us, I think, do apply our buildings for, what it does is that it extrapolates the sustainability aspects not just into design, but through the construction methodologies, through even your hiring processes, operations, how you're operating the building. So it sort of ties the dots throughout. So I think that is where, even if you're doing it to tick a box, it is going to make an impact overall. And one by one, little by little, together as a community, we'll be making that impact. So that's important.
Hello. I don't think so. There's a choice anymore with the builders or the developers, whether it's like some people mentally may think it's a tick mark, but as Pallavi said, that those tick marks are actually making the change. I think moving forward, there will be a policy push as well, where things will move into, like, for example, what other countries are doing, that there will be a benchmarks or guidelines for embodied carbon, where you say, okay, that you have to use materials to a certain extent of carbon emissions, and you can't go beyond it. And if you choose to go beyond it, then it will be exponentially expensive for the project. I think we are moving in that direction, and soon we will see. I think the project which we are working with Raman, I think we are trying to do that on our own to see that what our carbon footprint is, even at a construction stage.
That's very interesting to know. So one very interesting slide that Ashley put up was commercial buildings initially had amenity spaces of only about 3%, which is now moved up to 18%. How is that redefining the commercial building for all of you all? Pallavi, I know you're
Yeah.
rolling out 5 commercial buildings in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so I think amenitization of commercial buildings is something that we are really focusing on, because and I think Ashley and his team they are going to be the flag bearers for us, with their building being the first one that will be out in the market from our end. Uh, Primarily, we are, as an organization, looking at our buildings being a lifestyle change for the working population. So we're looking at it as a lifestyle. Now, we talk of work-life balance, but very often we forget that work is a part of life. So life needs to extend into the commercial spaces. You need to be able to recognize the fact that your role definition, what you do in your professional life, is something that is an extrapolation of what you are naturally. Okay, so let's say you are in a creative job, or you are in a job that requires you to do strategic thinking. You're in a job that needs you to do mass production. It can be either or, but eventually you're a human being, and that sense of belonging in the space is important. That sense of belonging doesn't necessarily come just from your workplace or your work desk. It has to go far beyond that. So we are looking at notching that up from 18% much higher in the buildings that we are coming up with, slowly but surely. So hopefully India will see many more projects with a lot more percentage of amenitization than the world soon.
Thank you, Pallavi.
See, what you see, in today's urban setup, where most of the buildings are, vertical, you don't have, long horizontal walks like in England we have G+1, G+2, and a long horizontal walks and all. It's not. But if you see, most of the time, all of us spend maximum time at offices, and these is in the vertical boxes. You spend the time. So you need time to space out yourself. You need time for cooling yourself. You need to time for entertaining yourself. You need to time for collaborating with others. So this amenity spaces, whether it consists of open space, or whether it's the game section, entertainment section, or it's a food. It's like food, fun, entertainment, all together. Everything is getting, life is getting, the lines are actually melting. The personal and professional life, it's becoming more or less, the boundaries are coming down. So what's happening is, as you grow more and more, so you need these spaces where you can actually collaborate for fun, food, entertainment. That's how I take it. And that's how it's growing up. You can see the reflection is, you are doing many of our projects. You know how we are, not only the open space amenities, now even the entrance lobbies. we do. I know such a wonderful work she does. So the entrance lobbies is the grand entrances. So how it has changed, even the entrance lobbies, which used to be very small, 3,000 square feet lobbies, now it got suddenly changed into 10,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet. Things have changed. So people need more collaborative space. People need more openness. As they know, life, you spend most of the time in the offices. So things are changing.
Right. Another question that I have for you all is, design is very collaborative. We're working with designers from all over the world, and we're very fortunate to do so. But is there ever a brief that our buildings should still be a reflection of us? I mean, what are the local elements that we can add to international buildings, so that a building in Mumbai will feel like a building in Mumbai and not a building in Hong Kong?
So I like to answer that. So I've been thinking about that. So today's building, in terms of experience and quality, needs to be truly international, but in terms of context, needs to be rooted. And if you take an example of the latest, the new Terminal 2 in Bangalore, you see that. You see the quality of the terminal is truly exceptional, and the experience you get. But still, it is still rooted in the city of Bangalore. It is like a terminal in a garden, right? Another very good example is even the Bombay Terminal 2, right? So you see the quality of architecture, you see the experience of that space. It's truly international, truly global. But the art, the integration of that leaf petal into the flooring pattern, into the facade, into the ceiling, into the carpets, all that makes it very, very contextual. So I think these are the examples of very successful large-scale buildings where you see a marriage of global and local and the context. I think in moving forward, you do see it in the softer elements. You see how the concept of certain kind of landscape, where you use native species of trees. You design for biodiversity, for biophilia. Your interior design spaces, the lobbies which you have been designing, that they're all very, very contextual to a place, and even to a certain extent to the client or to the user. I think in that senses, it is getting extremely integrated. That's my.
But is that part of your brief?
Yes. So for example, we operate properties across 8 cities now, and when we give brief to the interior designers or landscapers, then we tell them how this project will be different from another project in Delhi or another project in Mumbai. What is the local context, or what is the story behind that particular concept, which will define this particular space and not any generic space. So yes, so it's a very strong part of our brief. In fact, we now have a very strong guideline document which we give to our architects, engineers, to kind of where we have laid down the process as well, what we need out of a space.
That's really nice to know. Pallavi, you have something to say?
I do, however, feel that in the commercial architecture that exists within the country, I think our brief could possibly be stronger in order to be far more contextual than it is right now. A lot of times, many clients are influenced by what's happening globally, also because that's where your investment comes from. You're looking at the clients who are leasing your spaces to be firms which are global, so that's what they're familiar with. So there are a lot of reasons or driving forces behind which contextuality is not given the level of importance that it should be. Having said that, our observation has been, and I think most of us on this panel here are definitely working with firms that are of international repute. They do, however, the architectural firms who work with us do, however, have a strong inclination to bring in the regional aspect when they propose their design to us. So we do see that, that dilemma, where you're trying to be global, but at the same time, the architect is trying to introduce a regional aspect. I think we can afford to, in India, allow the architects to go further on that journey a little more than we are allowing them to right now.
So I guess when we go local, we'll also be more sustainable.
I think if we, now we do see a lot of buildings, especially commercial, where the architects and interior designers are taking cues from the, cultural heritage they have around It could be simple flora and fauna, culture, what language, what food they eat. They introduce it in the building, in the cafes, in the motifs they use on the flooring, in the false ceilings. All these things, the building might still look very global, but the small, small elements they bring in from the context around which it is built does make sense and does make it more, contextual at the same time global.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think I need to wind this panel up. We've overshot our time. Does anyone have any questions?
I think we should have Ashley's take on the last question.
Ashley, it will be very interesting.
We have this debate all the time. So, and it's exactly as you said. So there's always this idea that people are looking for an international project, and I won't say who it was, but I think at one point we took it too regional, and we went to this meeting, and it just got all thrown out. It's like, I didn't get an international firm for you to tell us what Indian architecture is. I got an international firm to do an international project, and we get that a lot. But at home, in the office, we get a lot of, exactly what you said. Why is this building? What makes it Mumbai? What? It could be in New York, it could be in London, it could be in Paris. What makes it situational to Mumbai? So we get it from both ends, if you like. And I think it is a little bit more difficult on commercial office projects because, as you say, there's the funding and everything else, and a lot easier on residential projects because we can really just define, well, this is how people live, and you're not pitching it to a whole lot of international people. You're pitching it to local people who have a certain way of living. They want to have cook with a whole lot of steam, and they want that steam to get quickly out of the building, and they have a technical balcony, and they want to close it off, and don't propose any great big Western kitchens in the living room. So it's a lot easier from that point of view. But it does, I think there was a question, it comes in the interior design, it comes in the landscape. And those are two very easy things. And I think on the GCR project, Karen said, it's amazing, the fluting looks exactly like the old temples that we've got. And we went, good. Yeah. But that was in the interiors. The exterior, I think we really tried to sort of have a place that could be used climactically. So you could actually sit outside right in the middle of the monsoons, as I briefly sort of fled through on that one. So it wasn't, in London we wouldn't do that as much. Your facades would come straight down, and you'd have this, it would be very much climactically responsive to London. So that's an easy thing, but that doesn't really come across as a sort of a nod, if you like. It's more of a climactic nod than a kind of a stylistic nod, and I think that's where we kind of different projects kind of nod a lot, and other projects nod very little, and I think that's got a lot to do with the client body and what they're looking for. But when you get to the end of a project, there will be this thing about where's your nod? So it kind of turns 360. At the start, it's international, 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 and then at the very end, they kind of go, oh, but when we market this, what makes this local? Well, so there is always an element. It's just a matter of how much.
So I'll just quickly wrap it. See, my sense on this is there's a twofold strategy for this. See, today the cities like Mumbai and all, they are a very melting pot. So it's an international traveler who comes and goes. So office building more or less are what everywhere else in the world it is. But if it comes to institutional buildings or anything, so that's where it attracts more of a look. The sensitivity of that geography, it comes into that architecture of that. Rest of things is, what is required. For scientific, for the reason of the building, what you need, for louvers or all, you may do some switch over there. But otherwise, I see it's more of a global market than anything else. So I don't see office buildings especially being treated for a local. But institutional buildings, yes, they still are.
Yeah, I think even in the interiors, finally, it gets to reduced to artwork that is more local. But I wish we could do some more. I wish we could bring more context to our commercial buildings. Thank you all of y'all for this hopefully fun panel. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and everyone's going away with some more information about commercial buildings and the thoughts behind building them. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.